Great. I'd like to welcome everyone to our March meeting of the Gainesville End-of-Life Doulas. It's March 12th, 2025. This is a monthly Zoom that we hold, and it's educational meeting on a variety of topics. We love Zoom because a lot of people can come from all over, and you don't have to get dressed or get in your car. Well, you have to get half dressed. So today's topic is supporting a loved one through dementia. So I was inspired to put this together because of my memories of my mom started piling up, and I thought, wow, I have all these photos and all these videos, little video clips that I took, and I don't want to die with them all being nowhere, that people wouldn't be able to find them and put them together. And it's also part of my joy is creating these PowerPoints and videos so that I can share pieces of my life. I guess it's a bit of my legacy. This is a story of Helen Hardy, who lived a long and fruitful life. It's being shared with photos and videos and stories by her middle child, myself, Shanti Vani, and it is March of 2025 as we're recording this story. I hope you enjoy Helen's story. We're calling it Supporting a Loved One Through Dementia. And it's designed to help people who are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's. So Helen was born in 1925. She had a happy life. This is a photo of her as the youngest child with her three siblings. She tells me that her mom knew how to determine whether it was going to be a boy or a girl, and that she planned boy, girl, boy, girl. This is her family in the early days. Her grandfather in the middle is Millard Hardy, who was born in 1850. This is her mom with her grandmother, and that's her dad picking fruits. This is Helen. She was a beautiful, happy child. She was also quite a rascal. Her parents, Lillian and George, both died suddenly. Her mom when she was 29 and her dad when she was 18. She was in the class of 43 at Newton High School, and that's her glamour shot photo when she was 18. She met George. He was the brother of one of her friends in school, and she met him, and that's her mom. Very happy with George. She loved him and wanted mom to marry him. So World War II was going on, and the guys were trying to grab a bride pretty quick. So they were married when she was 19 in 1945 in the summer. That's a beautiful wedding shot. Two of them. And then the first child was born in 1946. And that's me. I was born in 51. And then my brother was born in 1954. So there were three children. And here's a picture of us in the 50s. Here it says in Ethiopia, we lived in Addis Ababa in the early 50s. And here's a photo of mom with Emperor Haile Selassie. She was very diplomatic and beautiful. We lived in Hastings on the Hudson in the 50s. And so that's a picture of us after we came back from Africa. This is a couple of shots from our summer home in Goose Pond in Lee, Massachusetts, where we enjoyed our summers. In 1995 or 6, when mom was 70, she decided to go on an adventure with the green tortoise. And okay, so we're going to jump forward to the new millennium. This is a family photo that we took. There's mom down in the middle with some of us. And then this is at my wedding with Terry and a big, nice family reunion. Mom was always happiest when the family was getting together. Here's me on the left and my sister Nancy on the right with mom. And she was into her dementia by now. But she was always just so happy. And there's with my brother. And mom and dad had been separated and divorced in the 60s, but fortunately, after a while, they started talking and visiting again. And then this is my three daughters. Naomi, in the middle, tragically died in 2015. She had addiction and depression. And here's mom talking about family.
Oh, what I want is to see every single wonderful person in my family and be there sometime. If you have to wake to get up in the morning to get here, I wish they would do. It would be great. And if we could just get out here in the what do you call it? The yard. That would make it even better. And all the people. Oh, please. Yeah. I just want it all. Well, we'll have to take to that and look and think. But I do think that if we read out here and back and forth, we'll have everybody is bringing in things in, and it'll be perfect. And some of us will work, and a little bit because I had to get in and to get my stuff. And actually, I thought the way that the reason I was going to be over here was not exactly. No, where I wanted to get that dinner. I think that I wanted for Christmas to make sure that we ask our kids. You know, I want us to do that. I would do it around it. I would do it to talk to people.
Make the phone calls. Perfect.
I would. And of course, we have to have food and things.
Yeah.
Well, all the colors of these things and that are out here is one of them, and the food is Graham. This is great. So Sweden, and to get ourselves into a nice table here.
So, yeah. So this is Helen with two of her great grandsons. She loved her babies. Now we're going to hear another.
What other kids were there then?
Oh, what the other kids? Well, their names were. Whoa, heavens! Can I remember their names? Oh, please do.
So Helen really loved to play, and she loved Russian Bank. If anyone wants to get together and play Russian Bank, I would love that. It was her favorite card game ever. This is with her friend and my cousin in St. Augustine. You can see how she just loved laughing and enjoying her people. This is the scene at her home on Hidden Lake, out her back patio. She loved being around water. And this is me and mom on the dock at her home in Hidden Lake. She had a hot tub on her patio. I just love how happy she was. Even with her dementia, she was trying to play her piano some. She would really like to keep herself busy. Here she is grating cheese and coloring. And then we had a picture book that Dad had made for us, so she's looking at this picture book.
No time, but if he would walk away, the way they look sort of so just a little till, but she had, yeah. Hmm? Oh, why? Yeah. Hmm? Hmm.
And next is a rather long, almost minute and a half about her, how and she enjoyed playing with her sock and her glove.
One thing inside, and yeah, and then I decided I'm gonna, do things like that.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
know,
I'll
and
take
that
it.
sock.
And I'll be do it. Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
oh yeah.
you got a black glove and a white sock.
Look what you're doing.
Oh yeah, you can wave to her.
I know. but I like that.
Yeah,
I certainly like it.
right.
Yeah,
I like it too.
that's the one thing I have to put it here. Because I really need
You put your
here
sock
something.
in that pocket,
Oh, yeah.
and your glove is in the other pocket, right?
Oh, oh. Yep.
Well, you're having a good time.
Oh, I think I'm good. Yeah, that's better.
Good.
Very.
And she loved a punch balloon is a really great, safe way to play with anyone of any age.
All right.
All right. Whoa. Whoa.
And Mom had two cats, Dexter and Scarlet. Scarlet had been shaved because she had a lot of mats, but she loved her fur babies. Now, this is after she was at Al's place one day. She used to resist going to Al's place in the beginning, but I loved it when she came home and she shared how happy she was there in this video.
Wondering if they would do it. Well, they did. they just kept, and they loved it. I loved it, and we were. It was. It was so good. Yeah. Oh, and sweet little thing. Look at you. I love you so. Yeah. 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 Oh yes.
And just a little shot of her and Dad on the back patio. I just thought that was pretty cute. They both look so happy. And this is a little time she had some trouble with, she was trying to put her sock on her shoe. I just thought it was cool to share. And these are all in chronological order.
Yeah. I guess we'll do four. Keep going. Door. Yeah. No. Well, that's not going to do. No. Yes.
And don't get too depressed because there are moments like this too. those musicians came down off of their stage on the porch to be close to her because she was having so much fun. Fortunately, Helen was here. We had a wedding on her patio in 2017. This was just a year before she died.
Yeah, that's good.
Bluebird and Maymay. This was at Al's place.
Do it.
Right.
Go.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, nice.
She loved, these are some of her great grandchildren and a granddaughter. She loved her visits with family. And Sarah, my other daughter, she was able to live with us and take care of Mom for those 3 years from 2015 to 2018. This was Mom's last visit to the pedicure place, and she loved her ice cream. Fortunately, in January of 2018, just a few months before Mom died, my brother Dick was able to come and visit, and he played this beautiful song for her while she lay in bed. Yeah, that was a real blessing. So around that time, Mom had a bowel impaction that was very difficult. So we had to take her to the hospital. And here's a video where I think she's talking about my sister, who was estranged from most of the family. I think that's who she was talking about. Let's see.
Being, who knows? But I don't think she'd be still. But I think if I go, though, I'll talk with her. With her.
Yeah.
And I just have to, my dear.
Yeah. You miss her.
Well, good. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. So then she was no longer able to go to Al's place because she just wasn't functioning well enough. So I was exhausted and not able to take full care of her. So I got her into an assisted living for a short period of time. Here's the first day she got there. She's always laughing at me for taking her picture all the time. So then on April 5th, she had a stroke and she was no longer able to use her right hand. So we took her home. She used her left hand. She was like, okay. Then she went to hospice for a short respite visit. And as you see, she decided she wasn't going to wear her teeth anymore. So these are the two photos that hospice took the day she came in and then the day she went out. So it's kind of beautiful. This is the very last video that we have of Mom. It was taken 5 days before her death. And I just wanted you to see a little bit of her attitude and her calm way in accepting life's changes. So, Mom died on April 23rd of 2018. And as you see here, she was getting cyanotic, turning a little bit blue. And I was blessed to be with her. Helen felt that her beauty was a hindrance, but I think in her later years, she realized that it really wasn't. So I just want to share one of Helen's favorite quotes that I found in her papers after she died. It says, "The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we embrace for that day. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it." And then this is just a short minute of part of her memorial service that we had at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Gainesville. We had a group, a cappella group singing, and then my son Eli and his son Austin played drums. So here's just a little bit of her service for you. It was pretty cathartic putting it together, but felt really strong and really good. For me, it's kind of that place where sorrow and joy meet, you know. Anyway, I'd just like to open it up to any responses or comments, questions. Please feel free to unmute and just share.
It was much too quiet. I'm sorry, Shanti, but I couldn't hear any of it.
You mean even my voice?
No.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm so sorry.
She looked very sweet and happy.
Yes, what I just experienced, just to share, was that, first of all, those of us who are doulas would have to say congratulations on a very nicely done legacy project. You did your work, and it
Thank
shows.
you.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank
You
you.
collected the story of her life. For me, the experience was something like this. I got to watch a silent movie. I did. I sat back, I got some coffee, and I watched a silent movie. And I was able to see a lot of things come through. The pattern, the love, the family, the unity, the growth, the evolution of everybody, and physical. And it kind of reflected my own life story in a way. I saw the beauty that she had in her youth, and then what happens to the body just because of the story, if you will. This is what happened to the story. And so I got all of that, but I also saw that it was a huge piece of your life, and a coming together, a rendering of sorts of your life. And it was nice that you shared that with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to look forward to hearing the sound to see if I made any sense of the story for real.
Well, that's very interesting that it didn't, sound didn't come out at all, because when I did the share, I did the usual thing where you do it for video, but that's okay. We'll provide that for sure. And but interestingly, I imagine with it being silent, you actually got to observe some things in a different sort of way than hearing. But I'd be happy to answer any questions about the different little videos, or if you know, I can fill in. Yeah. The first video where she was sitting on the green chair was we had gone through the death of my daughter, Naomi, and we were anticipating Christmas was coming. And so she was out there, and when you do see it, you'll see that her speech is very, very impaired as she goes along. It becomes just words are completely not, you just kind of have to imagine what she's saying, really what she's trying to say. But she was saying, and I just want everyone, I want my family, I want everyone to come. I want them all here, and all the beautiful colors. And we'll have this, and the big long table. And, she just was so wholeheartedly wanting to bring people together. But the death of my daughter with addiction had created a big, huge split in the family. Everyone was traumatized and separated, and she always knew that. So in her heart, she was always just pulling everyone together in the heart, so it was a little actually painful because I had the same feeling.
Yes, I could see there was that piece of it too, so. But, the question is this Alzheimer's, and to bring it to the topic of my mother, the same journey, not the same journey, the same cognitive disorder, let's say.
Uh-huh.
But it creates a set of dilemma that how we deal with it, when them not knowing. I had a question, are they aware that they're dying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I'm aware right now, and I have 2 patients that I'm sitting with that are just been told there's nothing else to be done. And
Right.
you know something about life when you hear that. And I wonder about my own mother. Did she know she was actively dying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last little video, the little short of her just quietly sitting 5 days before her death, but that look in her eyes of just quiet patience, peacefulness, was just very moving for me. And then she'd like wave, and she had her glove with her, her happy place with her glove or her sock.
Yeah.
The simple things.
I have an answer to that.
Yes.
Question raised.
Yes.
Based on my experience, I had been taught I was the first paramedic in my county, and we were taught that dementia was a steady downhill loss of cognitive function and loss of ability and loss of reason to live. That was not the case. As my mother was dying of dementia, it was a very interesting, convoluted roller coaster ride. And so, yes, she knew she was dying sometimes. And yes, she had no idea what was going on. One of the most momentous examples of that was when the charge nurse was here and had said, she's on her way out. Have you made final arrangements? I was on the phone to the mortuary. I stopped by the kitchen on the way to grab some paperwork and told my husband she was dying. Her vitals were plummeting. She had a mask on. It was full of foam. She was really fading fast. She was blue. And my husband awkwardly came to the doorway and didn't know what to do or say. So he said, "Hey, Rose, you want a piece of pizza?" And we looked at him, just flabbergasted that he would come up with such an absurd comment. And she did too, and pulled the mask off and said, "Pizza sounds good." And because
Right.
of her short-term memory loss, she had forgotten she was dying, and she lived on for quite a long time after.
Well, I have to say that in my own mother's case, and thank you for sharing that, because it really does bring up, those of us who are dealing with dementia now in our lives, or who have been through this, that I had to put her into hospice and trying to negotiate that language, that she was going to get a nurse at home. And this is early on in this process. She was deteriorating and we managed her. But in the last 6 months, her heart, as it goes, something else starts to go. And I had this conversation with her about hospice, and she had really no clue that she was going to die or thinking of dying. And why would you bring this team in? But yes, if you think it's a good idea, I'll go with this. But the day before she died, she called me and said, I'm tired and it's time. And I didn't know exactly what. Wait, you can't do this. I said, we've talked that I'm going to be there and hold up. Well, she was tired and it was time, and she went to sleep and didn't wake up. So she called it. She knew it. But the 5 months before that, I would try to have these talks with her, and I'd have to have a simple talk and enjoy life with her toys and her little things. So yes, I know that it's a difficult one. Each case so individual.
Right, right. Is there anyone else who'd like to share something who hasn't spoken yet?
Shanti, I would just like to say how much I appreciate you sharing your mom with us, and how sad I am that Naomi died. I went through a similar situation with my youngest, but she survived. And my mom died when I was in my 20s. And so I don't have this experience. She was in Massachusetts and I was in Florida, and I really was not in close communication with her. My other siblings were still around, but I may have been the only one who really loved her. And so I have a lot of remorse about her last days and my lack of connection. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing your mom. And I also have a theory that is probably not correct, but it's my theory and I'm going to share it. I think people who were cheerful and happy when they have Alzheimer's are cheerful and happy Alzheimer's people. And people who are grumpy and mean when they have Alzheimer's may have been grumpy and mean when they were younger. A friend's dad, who could not even remember who she was, could tell jokes nonstop. And they were very funny, and he was very charming. And that was how he was when he knew who he was. So that's just a theory. I'm not going to test it out, but I'm just really grateful to you.
Oh, thanks, Jean. Yeah. Thank you so much. Anybody else who has not had a chance yet? Well, Chris, do you have anything? You were in the movie. That's great.
I did it. Yeah, I'm, my mom lived, I think, to be old. How old was Helen when she died?
92.
Yeah, my mom lived to be 95. That was Helen's sister, older sister. And she never really had dementia. There were a couple of times when she would say something funny, like, let's see, when Dad was in the war, oh, you weren't born yet, were you? Which obviously I wasn't. And but she just, little moments like that. But overall, she was pretty with it right up until the end. But how she died was really awful, and had a bad experience with hospice. And I'm a little jealous of you that you had. No, really, you had, and it was partly you and it was partly your mom. Just, you just guided her through with such ease. It seems like ease. I'm sure it wasn't always ease, but, and my mom was in hospice and pretty much out of it on painkillers the whole time. The one time that she woke up and was lucid, I wasn't there. Nobody was there. The nurse was there, My mom didn't even know she was in hospice, but the nurse told her. And even though I had said, she doesn't necessarily need to know she's in hospice. And they told her anyway. And when I got there later that day, she pulled me close and she said, "This place you have me is a nightmare. It's horrible. It's horrible." Yeah, those were like the last words she said to me. Not that she died that day, but she died a few days later. And, so, that was not good. And I had another bad experience with hospice with my sister. So I'm not a hospice fan. So I'm glad that there are folks like you and the other people in this meeting that have a better handle on how to help people through.
Oh,
But,
wow. Thank you. Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
but your mom, talking about your mom, she was happy. I mean, she didn't always, everything in her life wasn't always perfect. She had plenty of sources of stress and, discordance, but she just always handled it really well. And she was a happy person. And like that quote said, it's the way you react to things that makes a difference whether you're a happy person or not. And she was a generous and kind and wonderful person. One of my favorite people. So
Yeah.
anyway, okay.
I just sort of, with the comment about hospice, I certainly don't want to, we always want to build bridges, what I've heard some hospice people say is that, oh, we do everything doulas do. But doulas are the weaving through of the parts. Doulas do a sort of magic where, I mean, anyone in the medical system has their appointment with the patient, and there are a few minutes to do this or that. And then if, they might call in the chaplain, or they might, they have different parts, but it's not, I don't know if someone else who is a doula could explain, but it's definitely a different role, and it's a sort of pull it all together, or know the family and know the person and advocate for them and know things that maybe others wouldn't know. So it's a beautiful place to be. Some of us are called to it, and we wouldn't rather be anywhere else. So I don't know.
Well, and sometimes you have more advance warning. When I decided that my sister maybe needed hospice care, and she was living in a nursing home already, but they bring hospice in, and they came in and they said, "Oh yes, she's definitely a candidate for our services." And I said, "Well, I hope you'll be able to give me some advance warning when you think it's getting close, because I've got a brother I'd like to, maybe get down here and all that sort of thing." And she said, "Oh, yes, yes." And that was on a Wednesday, and that Friday she died. And I mean, I know there's no magic formula. Sometimes it happens when you're not expecting it, but and then we called the nurse to come on Friday morning, and it took her so long to get there. By the time she got there, Bunny was already gone. So they were literally no help at all. None at all.
Wow.
But anyway.
Wow.
You can't always control things, that's for sure. At least I was there. At least I was there for her.
You did. You got there. Yeah. So we had a question. At this point in 2025, is the end-of-life doula a paid profession, and does insurance cover it? There's no regulation of doulas, and we are, trained but not regulated, and insurance does not cover us. So it is private pay. And there's a growing number of doulas, and some are retired people who work volunteer. Some work on sliding scale. Some don't work. They just share information and education, or help their next door neighbor if something comes up. There's just a great variety. And I don't know if any of the other doulas want to add anything to that. Any other comments? We still have some time.
In one way, when you're working with someone with dementia, my grandfather had it, My dad has it. In one way, I see it as beauty because every single day starts to be just a fresh new day. And I was 13, I think, when my grandfather, and I didn't know who I was going to be when I was in front of him. Some days I was Chris, other days I was my dad, other days I was his friend over in the war zones.
Mhm.
Um, and it seems scary at first because, we've lost that connection of the past. But at the same time, when you see the beauty in it, when you're with someone, you just see them for the person that they are in that moment. And it reminds us to do the same to ourselves, not to hold on to the past. It's a unique reflection, but it's so sad sometimes to feel that disconnect, the falling apart of a loved one. Appreciate you sharing, Shanti.
Thanks. It's not been easy, especially when you guys couldn't hear.
I
But
actually could hear a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm doing it on my phone, but I could hear well enough to understand what was going on.
well, I'll redo that part. Anyway, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Chris. And Chris Larson, you had something?
One of my greatest joys of caring for my mom with dementia is that I got to know my 3-year-old mother.
Oh.
Many people can say that. And it was absolutely, she was a delight. She was so much fun. Um, there was something else I was going to say in regard to what your cousin Chris had said, but I forget what it was.
It might come back. Oh, memory. We all have those moments.
Well, the other thing that my mom said to me when she told me that the place I had her was horrible, she asked me if she had cancer. She
Oh.
didn't have cancer, but in her mind, she associated hospice with cancer.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
very, I don't know, like being, to my brain, but oh well.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else who hasn't shared? We want to give everyone a chance. If not, then we'll let Jean go again. Okay, Jean.
Thank you, Shanti. I just have one other quick memory that came back to me. When I was a very young child, we would go to Canada every year to see my mother's family. That's where she was from. And her mother had dementia. But way back then, we didn't know anything about dementia or Alzheimer's or anything else. And I feel that the end of life doulas are such like a miracle for people going through that, because my grandmother did not recognize my mother, and my mother was very hurt. She didn't know what was going on, and she was very hurt by it. So
Mhm.
I just think that people who know more about Alzheimer's, places like Al's Place, people who are able to let go of that was my mom and this is not, um, are really a blessing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just want to say on the foot of that and it's important to get this across that the behavior may change at the end, especially there's so many different types of neurocognitive disorders, and some affect behavior and agitation and anger and different presentations, but that's not the individual who we love. That's not the soul. That's a manifestation of some brain chemicals being there or not. And it's important to go back to remember the essence of the love, and that's where I go back with families. They're trying to avoid remembering because it was so painful, but I say let's go back beyond that to who you truly love. So thank you for bringing that up, Jean, and thank you for
Yes.
sharing. This has been very personal, very touching, Bonnie. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Yes, and we're going to go to Elsie.
Yeah, I would like to say a word, mostly about hospice, because I haven't experienced dementia with any of my family. But my husband was in hospice, and that's 30 years ago. But he was actually in the hospice facility, and he had cancer of the jaw, so that he couldn't eat, and he was dying. And the doctor gave him prednisone, and a stomach tube. I'm surprised they put a stomach tube in, but they did.
Hmm.
And amazingly enough, he walked out of hospice and came home for 4 months after that and
Wow.
died at home. And it was really amazing. We had about 2 or 3 months of really good experience together. And then he went downhill. And when he died, his daughter, he had another family before me. His daughter was there with me, helping take care of him, and he was sedated because he was in a lot of pain, and we were just telling him it's okay, you can go, but he just didn't seem to want to go. So finally, his son came and said, "I want a military funeral." So I was out in the kitchen trying to arrange a military funeral for him. And his daughter said, "Elsie, come in here. I think he's gone." So I walked in the room and I called his name, Jack. And he opened his eyes and heard me and then was gone.
Wow.
And it was good. It was the way it should be. But an unfortunate situation, I called hospice when he died and told the nurse what happened. And she said, "Well, you shouldn't have called him back."
Oh, for God's sake.
Wow.
Shouldn't have called him back. It was just natural for me to call his name. And that hurt my feelings.
Yeah. What a moment.
I just let it go. And he died at home, and I could still remember him being wheeled out of the house. And I had a sense of peace that was undescribable because I knew it was time. So.
Yep.
Thank you, Elsie. That's so beautiful to share. And I'm sorry that you had that reaction, because those moments were so raw and tender and open. Those are the life-changing moments. And when someone is insensitive or hits us, we just have it. It's a pang, but you were smart to let it go.
I mean, why would she have to say that?
Yeah.
Actually, I was glad he woke up enough to like, goodbye.
Say bye. Yeah, right. And you were the last one to make contact with him. What a joy.
She may have had some belief about something or the other, but you knew intuitively to have that connection, and you connected with him from the heart. So yeah, I'm glad that you were able to let it go easily.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to say we now have a YouTube channel where all of the Gainesville monthly videos are available to you to go back and look at. So what it is on YouTube, go to Gainesville EOL Doulas, and that is the name of our YouTube channel. Gainesville EOL Doulas with an S at the end. And so those started a year ago, September. So there's probably 15 to 18 of them. So as soon as I get this one fixed up, I'll put it up there. I'm real happy to say we now have them all in one place. Yep.
Well, I also want to offer my congratulations to you on accomplishing a task that I know you've been working on for a long time. And having read Chris's book, I'm noticing some of the similarities, and both of you all called in help. You admitted that it was more than you can do, and Chris had a doula. She had the hospice there. Her mom was in her home, but neighbors were coming by, family. You both had children involved, which I thought was just fabulous. Those kids are going to grow up, and have that perspective that this is how, the next transition happens. So you all are very remarkable people, and I want to congratulate you all.
Thank you. I want to say there is a little great grandson that is now 6, and Leo, and he was always, his brother died before he and his other brother were born. So that was my granddaughter's, one of my granddaughters lost her baby in 2013, and she went on to have Landon and Leo. So Leo is 6 now, and he talks a lot about death. He's like, I miss my brother. My brother died, and even though he never met him, and he comes over and he says, Family, I don't want you to die. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna die, and we're all gonna die. So one day I took him up to Prairie Creek Cemetery, and we ran around and we looked at the graves, and we found some old couples that were buried next to each other. And I said, this is where I'm going to be buried, and the family's going to help put me there. And you guys can even help dig the grave if you want to. And he was like pulling on the straw and the hay and, looking at the flowers and the driftwood and different things that were there. And so then we sat on a bench together after we had really done a lot of running around the cemetery. And he just snuggled up with me right up next to me. And he said, this is where I'm going to sit when you die.
Oh.
And I was so happy. I mean, that's what I want. I want my family to talk about it and come towards me. And now I want to also be able to say, you're going to help me when I'm old and can't help myself, huh? But, hopefully they will. And I have hopefully some family members who will and some who won't. But, it's just great to be able to talk about the tough stuff. And it's not even tough, because if they have an understanding of that we're mortals, how beautifully that's going to serve them in their life from early on. Oh yeah, we are all going to die. Some very young, some inside their mommy, some with an accident or a plane crash. Every time, we hear about death. And so to just be able to integrate it and be okay. And it makes me want to live as clean and clear and strong as I can today. And, being aware that I'm going to die and I don't know when motivates me to do this work, to bring people together, to have the conversations. And so I'm just so happy we're here together. And yeah. So, well, it is 4 o'clock. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and end the recording. And I just want to say, thank you so much to all of you for being here and for contributing to this conversation. And we'll see you next time.
All right.